about cognitive strategies to manage stress. As we talked about in previous webinars in this series, stress is actually a useful survival mechanism, something that we both as humans and our ancestors and animals, they all had this stress response, and it's thanks to the stress response that they've been able to survive many difficult threatening circumstances. So just like on the savannah, for example, when you might be an antelope and a lion is chasing you, the stress response kicks in as a reaction to a threatening event. In this case, the lion chasing you. And in a way, we can talk about that there is actually kind of cognitive mechanism happening here. When the antelope is chased by the lion, it on some level, maybe just on the body level, unconscious level, it knows that there is a threat and it needs to run away. And because of this interpretation, the cognitive interpretation of the situation that its life is a threat, there is this body reaction of stress. Different hormones and chemicals are starting to circulate in the bloodstream, and it's activating all the different mechanisms, muscles and energy, things that we need to survive. In this case, the antelope need to survive. So it goes into this stress response, which is called fight or flight response. And this is very useful for sudden survival situations where we need to evade some kind of threat, sudden threat to our survival. But it is not useful for long-term survival because this stress response uses up a lot of resources and that we otherwise need for long-term survival, like resting, digesting food, and other things. They are very useful to survive in the long term. So this stress response is only useful for short periods of time. And today, we also get the same stress responses as the antelope on the savannah gets. We get stressed in certain situations that seem life-threatening to us. But today, there are not many actual life-threatening situations unless you're being chased by a mugger or almost run over by a car. Otherwise, other situations that are not actually life-threatening can also be stressful, but they might be stressful in the long term. Like you might feel stressed at work because the long list of to-dos are much bigger than you feel you can handle, and you feel that your employment might be threatened because you're not able to catch up with it. And you can experience that as a life-threatening situation on some level. But then you're in problem because it will deplete your resources for long-term survival. It will actually deteriorate your health. And the difference here is that as humans, we can actually do something about this. We can learn to distinguish between life-threatening stressors and other kinds of stressors that are not actually life-threatening. And it's better to deal with them with other strategies than fight or flight. For example, in this job situation where you have a lot to do, it's not very useful to go into fight or flight. It's better to go into a kind of proactive response where you start planning your days better, maybe, or maybe you can negotiate with your boss and lighten your workload, make him understand the situation and so on. So you need different strategies than we have inherited from our animals. So how can we do this? Because if you're in a situation and you feel something that you rather not feel, like you feel stressed, and that's not really useful unless it's something that actually helps you in the situation. So how come that happens? It happens because we subconsciously we added some kind of meaning to this event, this stressor, and the meaning we apply to it makes us feel the stress in a negative way. So I'm going to give an example. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. I hope you can see this slide. Let's see. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can see the slides? Thanks. Great. Okay, so here's a stressful situation, and this guy, his computer is wrecked because the cat did something to it, and he's interpreting it as a really terrible situation, like it's ruined his day, and maybe interprets the cat as evil, out to get him, or stupid. And all his interpretations in this situation makes him feel maybe angry or stressed or shocked. And so what happens here is that it's like the event causes the feeling. And that's the usual way that we kind of see things. It's like the events make us feel certain things. And how do we deal with this? Because it's not very useful if we always if the events kind of dictates how we should feel, then we would just go around and react to everything and be at the mercy or victim of circumstances. So the cat broke the computer, the cat is evil, I'm a victim of the cat, basically. So what can we do about this? We have to look at what is actually happening here. Is actually the event causing the feeling? If we look closer, we can see that the event doesn't cause the feeling directly. It's more like the event together with the meaning causes the feeling. It's like in our minds, we decide that this event has a certain meaning. It's like the event and the meaning is the same thing. It's like we can see that the cat is evil. We can see that the cat is stupid, and we can see that the whole situation is a disaster. We can see that it's going to ruin my day, or even my week. And then, of course, if that is true, if that is the true meaning of what is happening, it's natural to feel negative feeling. It's like almost like a survival situation. I'm threatened to my life almost by this evil cat. So what can we do about this? We have to look at what's actually going on. What is happening here is that we are giving the event the meaning we do that. We give the meaning to the event. The meaning isn't in the event itself. And there are many people that have explained how this works, how events are actually not the same as the meaning we give the events. For example, Sidney Banks talked about in the 3 principles about how our thinking creates our experience. So without our thinking, the meaning we give to events around us, we can't experience what they mean. So we do that all the time. We create meaning, we interpret things. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to even understand what a house is, because we see a house. What we actually see is not a house. We see shapes and we see colors. But it's the brain and our mind that interprets this pattern of colors and shapes as a house. So it's very useful to do this interpretation, to put meaning on the event. It's something we do all the time. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to function really. But in many cases, it works against us, like in the situation with the cat breaking the computer, because the meaning that we put on the event often is not a meaning that helps us. So it's important to see this difference between the event and the meaning. And another guy who really went deeply into this is Morty Lefko. He developed a method called the occurring method, where you learn to distinguish between an event and a meaning. Usually you would only work with events that make you feel a certain way that you would rather not feel. And then it's very useful to separate the event from the meaning, because then you can stop feeling in this negative way that you don't want to feel. Byron Katie did the same in the work, where you ask basically, is this true? Can you absolutely know this is true? Here you question the meaning that you give in certain events. And that can kind of liberate the mind to see other possibilities, other meanings that would be possible and maybe more helpful. And how do you do this? Well, when you do this, when you separate the event and the meaning, what you actually do, you actually disconnecting the feeling as well from the event. So when you can see that the event and the meaning are not the same thing, then you can also get a different feeling. What actually happens when you can see that the event doesn't mean what you thought it means, then you will automatically feel differently. You will actually feel more free in how you feel. You will not feel that you feel this way, or this situation, this event makes you feel this way. It makes you feel upset. Instead, you can just, you have almost more choice about how you feel about it. And there are different ways you can do this. I will use the occurring method as an example. And the first way is that you make a distinction. So in this event with a cat breaking the computer, the event is the cat broke the computer, and the meaning I'm giving it is not just the cat broke the computer, but I'm actually making it mean that the cat is evil, the cat is stupid, or that this is a disaster, it will ruin my week, or it's a terrible situation. And that is a meaning I add to the event itself. The event itself doesn't show that this will ruin my day. So what we do here is we actually look at the event, and we also look at the meaning that are given to the event. And we see that there's a distinction between the two. They're not the same thing. And when we can really ponder that and see that that's really the truth, it's not the same thing, then what usually happens is that the meaning kind of disappears from the event. It dissolves. You can see the event for what it is. And when we do that, the feeling it gave us will also dissolve. So if this event made us really stressed, suddenly when I see that, oh, it's not a disaster, the cat is not out to get me, or it's not going to ruin my day, that's not in the event itself, then the stressful feeling disappears. So that's a very useful way to dealing with stressful situations. But not always, it doesn't always happen. Sometimes we can't see the distinction between the event and the meaning. Sometimes we are too engaged. We can't really think straight about it. So there are other ways we can look at it. We can look at it in another way, where we use something no seeing. It's kind of similar to the first method, where we make a direct distinction between the event and the meaning. No seeing is actually even simpler. Then we just look at the event and see, can I actually see the meaning I gave it? Can I actually see the meaning I gave it in this event? The event was the cat broke the computer. Can I actually see the meaning that the cat is evil, or This is a disaster. If you really look at it very simply, you can't see the meaning in the event. Actually, every event, there's no event that has any meaning inherent in it. All events are neutral in themselves. So you can't actually see the meaning in the event. But this method is kind of, you need to be a bit more careful with this one and not make it too complicated. Don't try too hard to see that there is no meaning in the event. I mean, just do it playfully, because if you try too hard, then you're kind of actually giving the event more charge. So just do this very playfully and lightly. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, just move on to a different way, a different method. So if you don't see that there is no meaning in the event, you can just move on to the next one, which is to look at alternative interpretations. This is more method that you can almost do like a game for yourself. You look at the event, the cat broke the computer, and the task here is to, how many alternative interpretations can you give this event? I mean, what other things, what other meanings can be equally true about this event? Or maybe not even equally true, but what other possibilities can you give? How many other meanings can you give to this event? So do it like a game. See how many you can come up with. See if you can come up with 10, 15 different meanings for this event. For example, the cat is just playful. The cat just wanted my attention. The cat's really cute and playful and nice, and I really enjoy it being like that. Or I can interpret this event as this is an event that makes me stronger. This accident at the computer break is gonna give me some free time. I can watch TV instead of working at the computer. Or this event might be good for my mental health. Maybe it will, everything, I can see it as this is an event that will increase my mental toughness. It makes me stronger. So you can see how many different interpretations you can come up with. I mean, even really crazy interpretations are really useful here. You can see, you can exaggerate things, like make the you can pretend, say to yourself like, oh, the cat is the devil incarnate, is gonna kill me, and really exaggerate things. If you come up with really crazy meanings, that can help as well. Because when you have all these different meanings, what happens is that you loosen the grasp of the mind on the event. You can see that, oh, it could be many different ways, especially if they're really crazy meanings. You can see that it's not so serious, and there are many possibilities, because we never really know what meaning a certain event has. I mean, we are not all-knowing gods. We don't really know what things mean. So just play around with alternative interpretations. See how many you can come up with, and you will notice that when you do that, you kind of loosen the mind's grip on the event that you gave, on the meaning that you gave to the event, and you will feel much better about the whole thing. So this is the third method, of dissolving the meaning that you give in the event. There are other ways as well that I'm not gonna go into today. I might do a whole webinar about this technique later. But when you start doing these different methods of dissolving the meaning and starting to see that the events around you, your experience of life, doesn't have an inherent meaning, you can start to get into what Morty Lefko called the creator space. That's when you start to get the feeling that you create your own reality. You're in this space where nothing that is happening around you has any meaning, but you can give it any meaning that you want. And by doing that, you change your experience of anything. So it's like you create your experience of life. And that's a really wonderful, freeing experience that I only had a taste of a few times. But it's an experience that's almost like enlightenment, or you feel. I remember when I did these methods continually for a while, for a few days I got into this creator space, and it was like I was really infinitely peaceful. It was like nothing could disturb me. I even had physical pains that were there before I went into this creator space, but now they didn't disturb me. It was like they were there, but they were not. I was not suffering from them. It wasn't really painful, because when you're in creator space, even pain is not painful anymore. It's just a sensation. It doesn't mean I didn't take care of myself. I still took care of myself in all the ways I needed to do, but I wasn't suffering anymore. So being in this creator space is something I often think about to get back to, but I need to practice this method in a more intensive way then. But it takes a few days for me to get back into that space, but it's a really extraordinary experience. And let's see. So, do we have any questions so far? Okay. No questions. So I will talk more about this in later webinars. And the next webinar is going to be in-depth webinar about how we can use stress in a positive way. Because as I mentioned in the first webinar in this series, I talked about this study they did for 8 years, where they studied 30,000 participants for 8 years, and they were actually answering a questionnaire about how stressed they felt. And one of the results from the study was that the people that were more stressed, they had a 40% higher risk of dying, But yeah, well, that was quite understandable. I mean, we know that chronic stress is really bad for your health. But the surprising part of that study was that there was one group in the study that had the belief that stress is not bad for them. Most people thought it was bad. Most people had the belief that stress is bad for me. So that's quite understandable, especially if stress is so bad for your health that there's 43 higher chance of you dying. But there was one group that did not believe that. They believed that stress is actually beneficial. And the surprising thing was that group, they actually had a they had actually a lower risk of dying. They actually had better health than the people that were not stressed. So seems like if you have a positive view of stress, if you think that stress is helping you, that stress is beneficial for you, then it makes you more healthy. Stress makes you more healthy. Isn't that amazing? So how can we make use of this? Let's see. So that's what the next session is going to talk about, but I can talk a little bit about it now. So one way, I think the first step for many would be to do these techniques that we talked about today, that we change our perception of stress by changing our interpretation of circumstances, our stressors, so we don't feel so stressed. Because that's like a quick solution, that this can quickly make you feel better and not destroy your health by reacting with chronic stress. But in the long term, you can learn to use stress in a constructive way. And you can use that with something called the WHOOP method. Basically, what you do with WHOOP is that you learn to use stress in a constructive way. And the WHOOP method is something that you do kind of in advance. The techniques I talked about today, you can do in the moment when a stressful event happens. But the WHOOP method is more useful for dealing with stress in the long term as a proactive technique that you can apply for something that you know is going to be stressful, or for some kind of stress that you experience over a longer period of time. So just shortly how WHOOP works. WHOOP was actually developed as over 20 years. It's based on research also on people from different circumstances, like students and retired people, healthy people, and disabled people. And the studies that they conducted on these people, what they were looking into was how well did these people change their lives for the better? How well did they achieve aspirations and goals that they set out to achieve? And they found that, to their surprise, they found that visualizing and just like daydreaming and thinking positive was not that helpful to achieve goals. For example, there were some students that they studied how well the students were able to hook up with someone they were attracted to, and they divided people into two groups. There was one group that kind of dreamed about meeting the one they were attracted to and going on a date with them. And the other group, they were actually not dreaming about it so much. They were more thinking about the obstacles. What obstacles are actually stopping me from meeting this person? And they found out that the people that were thinking about the obstacles, they were much more successful. Also, they did the same with students' results with the studies. People that were visualizing that they were getting good results in school and compare them with the group that actually were thinking about the obstacles they had to get good grades. And the ones that were thinking about the obstacles that they had, they were much more successful. So what happened here? How come the people that were thinking about obstacles, how come they were more successful? It's because the people that included thinking about obstacles in achieving their goals, they actually started using stress in a constructive way. Because, as you know, as we talked about in the beginning about the antelope being chased by the lion, what happens when it is chased by the lion is that resources are activated. It gets energy. Cortisol is released and adrenaline is released, and this gives the antelope energy to escape from the lion. And a similar thing happens when we think about obstacles, the obstacles that are in our way to achieve our goals. When we think about a goal, we think about a good goal and we really feel that we want to achieve this goal. And we also think about the obstacle. What happens then is that there is energy released. They can actually measure this, that by measuring blood pressure, that the blood pressure increases when you think about the obstacles to achieve your goals. So what happens then is that you get the energy to start moving toward your goals. So you're actually using stress to achieve your goals. And when you do this, you actually learn that stress is helping you. You learn to use stress in a constructive way that helps you achieve your goals. And that will change your perception of stress. You will understand that stress is actually something that you can use. It helps you to achieve your goals. And as they saw in this 8-year study, when you have that mindset, when you have the mindset of that stress is going to help you, it's helping me achieve my goals, then stress will not have a negative effect on your health. It will actually help your health. It will make you stronger, more resilient. And you will gain benefits from the stress you experience when you use it in this constructive way by using the WHOOP method. So what an amazing way to relate to stress. Not just neutralizing stress, not making it make you worse, but actually using stress to make you better, make you more healthy. I mean, that's the best. That's the best combination. I mean, that's the best way to deal with stress. So I hope you all will come to my webinar about this WHOOP method, where we're going to go into practical ways of using it, so you can improve your resilience and your way of dealing with stress, and actually change your relationship with stress, so that you can both enjoy health and achieve goals at the same time. Achieve goals without getting burnt out or bad health, and be really effective and productive and healthy. So I hope to see you there. Since there are no questions, I will finish the recording of this webinar now. And I will, apart from these webinars and sessions I'm giving, I will also give coaching, and donations are welcome. And I'm going to share the link for the next event. We're actually going to do the next event on YouTube Live. So let's see. Here is the link to my channel, youtube.com/@PeterCarlin. And there you will find the live events that are coming up. Next one will be next week, probably on Wednesday. And you're all very, very welcome. And there will also be information and links eventually, how to contact me for coaching and mentoring. And I would be very grateful for any donations. There will be a link. There is a link on the landing page for this webinar for donations. And there's also a link on my YouTube channel for donations. So, okay, and the kind of coaching I'm offering is based on all the different methods I've learned. It will be a coaching package that are customized for you. We will have a meeting before and decide on the package that is suitable for you. But I will be using all the many different methods and techniques I learned the last 50 years or so. So there's a lot. And my mentoring and coaching are mainly about reducing stress, using stress in a productive way to achieve your goals, reduce procrastination and resistance, and increase your health and inner peace at the same time. And you will be able to read more about this on my website that will be coming soon. And you will find links to this also in my YouTube channel. So, thank you, everybody. And I wish you all a good evening, and hope to see you soon again. Bye.